You know those times when you stumble across something, a paper, let's say, and it's like, whoa, we got to unpack this. Well, that's what happened with this ChatGPT paper, folks.
And this is the doozy.
Humphries et al. 2024 ChatGPT is bullshit.pdf title. Kind of says it all, right?
Yeah.
But seriously, the more we looked at this, the more we realized this isn't just about some AI quirk. It gets at something fundamental about how we understand these systems. So first, the paper gives us a little refresher. What are LLMs, large language models, actually doing?
Right.
It's like this. Imagine the best autocomplete you've ever seen, but on steroids.
Like, seriously jacked autocomplete.
Exactly. They've absorbed so much text data that they're crazy good at predicting what word comes next, and the next, and the next.
Creating these scarily convincing paragraphs.
Which, by the way, completely blows my mind. They're doing all this without actually getting the meaning, you know?
Yeah, it's wild. It's all statistics, really.
Yeah.
And that's where things get kind of messy, as the paper points out.
Oh, yeah, the examples they give.
Like that lawyer who tried to use ChatGPT for a case, right? Ends up citing completely bogus precedents.
Oh, no.
Or those researchers who almost got fooled by ChatGPT making up scientific papers, titles, and all that. Sounded totally legit.
So it's like a giant game of telephone, but with all of human knowledge, and sometimes the message gets seriously garbled.
It does.
Which leads us to the big question. If it's all just word prediction, can these AIs even lie, like in the way we think about it?
That's where this whole bullshit angle comes in. And why the paper argues that neither lying or hallucinating really fits what's going on.
Okay, gotta admit, you've piqued my curiosity now. Why don't those terms quite work?
Well, lying, right? That implies you're intentionally trying to deceive someone. You know the truth, but you say something different.
Right, you gotta be aware.
Exactly. And then hallucinating, that's about seeing things that aren't there, some kind of misperception. But these LLMs, they aren't experiencing the world like we do. They don't perceive at all. So it's debatable if they even have intentions the way humans do. They're just really, really good at recognizing patterns.
So then how do we make sense of it when these AIs say something that's just flat out wrong? If it's not lying and it's not hallucinating?
Well, the paper points to the work of this philosopher, Harry Frankfurt.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him. Didn't he write a whole book on
bullshit. He did.
Right, of course. Okay, so remind me, how does Frankfurt define it?
So his argument is basically that bullshit is about being indifferent to the truth. It's not about deliberately lying. It's about saying things because they sound good, regardless of whether they're actually true.
So it's not that ChatGPT is maliciously trying to trick us. It's just, it doesn't really care if it's right or wrong, as long as it sounds convincing.
Exactly. Plausibility over accuracy.
Wow. Okay. So ChatGPT might be a bullshitter in that Frankfurtian sense, but even if the AI itself isn't intentionally trying to mislead us, it gets kind of messy when humans get involved.
Oh, absolutely. That's a key point the paper brings up.
Because even if ChatGPT itself isn't scheming to, like, pull the wool over our eyes, what about the people using it?
Right.
Are they the real bullshitters using AI to sound all smart and stuff, even if they don't really get it?
It's like using a thesaurus to write an essay, you know?
Oh, totally.
Trying to sound all fancy with big words, but...
But you don't actually know what they mean.
Exactly. Style over substance.
We've been there, done that. Ugh. Grading those papers. Thusly, the paradigm of my cognizance. It's like corporate jargon word salad.
Yeah, and that's the connection the paper makes, actually. It's not just about AI. It's about this whole culture of acceptable bullshit, especially in the corporate world.
Okay, so we've established that I'm not the only one subjected to terrible thesaurus abuse. But how does this acceptable bullshit, like, worm its way into, say, a company's mission statement?
Well, think about it. Managers, they're supposed to sound confident, visionary, right?
Yeah.
Even when things are uncertain.
Right, gotta project that image.
So you get these vague corporate slogans. Synergy, disruptive innovation, paradigm shift.
Ugh. Paradigm shift. Don't even get me started. It's like a black hole of meaning.
But as empty as they sound, they serve a purpose. Create an aura of competence.
Yeah.
Even if the words themselves are meaningless.
Yeah, so you're saying a little BS is just the cost of doing business? That's kind of depressing.
Not necessarily.
Right.
The point isn't that all bullshit is bad. It's about recognizing it. Why it's so common.
Okay, I see.
Because here's the danger. If we're not careful, we start accepting this acceptable bullshit as truth, just because it sounds good.
And that's where this whole hallucination thing with AI gets even more messed up, right?
Exactly.
Because it lets us off the hook. Like, oh, the AI just made a little whoopsie, instead of looking at how it's designed.
Right, it's not just some random glitch.
The paper even points out how news articles use that language. ChatGPT hallucinated, like it's some innocent mistake.
And that's dangerous because it hides who's really responsible. The people making these systems and the people using them.
It's like we're so blown away that AI can sound human, we forget to ask if it's actually saying anything real. And it's like you said, it's not just an AI problem, right? This bullshit is everywhere once you start to see it, I'm telling you.
It's everywhere, like you can't unsee it.
Exactly.
And that's what I think is so important about this paper, you know. It's like a call to arms, to be more critical, not just about what an AI spits out, but what we hear every day from everyone.
So what you're saying is, listener, this is where you come in. Where do you spot this acceptable bullshit in your own life?
Oh, for sure.
Is it at work? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Those deadlines everyone knows are bogus, or those emails that are just all jargon, more confusing than helpful.
Or those motivational posters, you know, the ones with those vague sayings. They sound deep, but
mean nothing.
Exactly.
Synergy. Think outside the box. We've all seen them. But here's the thing, as funny as some of this is, the paper doesn't let us off easy. It says this BS actually matters.
It does.
How so? Give us the why should we care?
Because when you're surrounded by all this empty talk, this meaningless stuff, it wears down your brain. Like you forget how to tell what's real anymore.
It's like our BS detectors get overloaded.
Yes. And then it's easy to just believe anything, even if it makes no sense.
Okay, so how do we fight back? How do we deal with a world drowning in BS?
Well, the paper doesn't have some magic solution, but it says we got to get better at thinking for ourselves, question things, look for proof, and be wary of anyone who's more into sounding smart than actually telling the truth.
So well said. Just because it sounds good doesn't make it true.
Right.
And sometimes all it takes is asking a simple question, right? What's your evidence? Or can you explain that in plain English? Cuts through the crap like a hot knife.
Love it.
Big thanks to our expert for, well, being an expert on this. That was some next level analysis. And listener, we hope this got your own BS detector buzzing, because being onto this stuff, it's more important than ever. Until next time, stay curious and stay sharp out there.